Drawing can take up a lot of time, especially if you're drawing something that you care about. Drawing something with a lot of detail can mess you up if you're not careful. You look too closely at one thing and you can end up with blown out proportions all over the place, and that's never good. What you're about to see is a great example of such a thing. So, right now, you can see that I'm attempting to draw Deadpool from Marvel Rivals. I saw that he was a new playable character in the game, and I just loved his design. I loved his jacket, his straps, and his extra pockets. His whole thing just screamed crazy mercenary covered in head to toe just violent red. So they designed him pretty well. I figured that I'd take it upon myself to draw him, using a couple screenshots that I took as reference. It was fine for the most part until I realized what kind of mistake that I had made. I don't think I came into this with the right mentality nor the right method. I mean, just looking at it, you might think that I'm doing pretty alright for myself until you start to see the little cracks. Specifically, the line work. I don't know what I did here, but he became quite a bit wider than he should have been. Granted though, Deadpool in this game is definitely wide, but I made him even wider than that. And because of this, the painting part of the process didn't really stick the landing like it was supposed to. I'm not sure how I missed that, but I basically had figured that out by the end. So, in cases like this one, what do you do? Do you just give up and walk away, or do you stick it out? So erase and retry, but with better line art, better precision, better alignment with the reference. Yeah, you can do that, but I won't. I see this as a learning moment, for sure, but I won't redo it. I don't really like that. In fact, what I really feel like doing is starting another project and applying what I learned on that rather than starting over with this. You see, I'm a particular kind of artist. The kind that likes variety. The kind that likes to shop around. I want to soak up as much experience as I can drawing a lot of things rather than spending too much time drawing one thing. But to be honest, you can become a successful artist doing either. But more on that later. So yeah, I'm gonna scrap it and do something else. I can't lie though, I might come back to it just to try another method that I've been thinking about recently. As you saw earlier, I did line art and then I painted. But since I'm using a reference with this, I don't actually need to draw any line art. I can just paint as is and use the reference as a guide. It's something that I realized once I reduced the opacity on the lines. Doing it that way seems more efficient, but I suppose an argument could be made that only painting from reference without lines will teach me color studies rather than form or shapes. Well, what I'll say to that is, mind your own business. Now, there isn't just one way of learning art. There's a couple, but I won't talk about them because I don't know them. I just know that there's a couple, and I know for a fact that I'm learning art. that I'm learning art cowboy style. That sounds wrong. This is the Wild West, and my pen is my 6-shooter. meaning that I'm just out in the desert shooting sand and hoping for gold. Alright, let me ask you something. What do you think is art? And how do you create it? I made this drawing that I personally classify as an unfinished failure because I think it would look pretty cool. But after some thinking, I realized that all I'm really doing is copying something and pasting it in a stylized version. Is that art? Well, yeah, I think so. It's not exactly the same, and it's made with my own hands. But maybe I should add something to it to make it different from the original, other than it just being in a different style. Maybe I should add tattoos. Maybe I should add glasses. Maybe I should just use the pose itself as a reference instead of drawing the thing just to make a glorified replica. You want to know what I think? I think this is art, but this is also just studies. I think it's just practicing. Just learning the pieces of what makes up the essentials of what you truly want to draw. It's not a fact, just my own opinion. Art comes in all shapes and sizes, literally. Art is subjective. Art is everything all at once, and I think that's amazing. But separate from that thought, there has always been a certain milestone that I have always wanted to reach. Something that I have wanted to do for the longest time. And that is drawing from imagination. While being good at it, I mean. Drawing from imagination is something that almost everyone can do. But not a lot of people can do it well. See, that's the difference there. And what do I mean when I say do it well? Well, I mean using your visual library to construct things from out of your head and onto paper, or in this case, a screen. The greatest artist I can think of, well, that everyone knows of doing this, is the late, great Kim Young-ji. Someone that I used to watch daily. He had live streams that I would tune into anytime I could, just to study the master and use his teachings to create my own creations. Well, as you can see, that isn't turning out so well. But nevertheless, we ball. So, drawing from imagination is what I yearn to do. And in order to do that, I need to know what it is that I am drawing. In order to know that, I must study references more than I actually put out. Memory and instincts are a big part of being a 2D artist. And it's not always obvious at first, but you eventually figure it out. Drawing a human, for example, usually means knowing what a human looks like, how the different parts of the body move in tangent with different poses. You even need to know what a human looks like in the dark and in the light. This, no doubt, takes a lot of effort. And once you have fully learned and understood the concept, you can draw any human you'd like. Why? Because you understand it. One day, if God's willing, I want to be able to sit down with no reference, no vices, just sit down and create something so monumental that it sells for like $1 gajillion and people all around the earth revere me as some sort of... I'm just kidding. No, it would be pretty cool to be able to draw, some silly pictures that are anatomically correct and precise. That is one of my greatest goals or wishes that I'm hoping to come true in the big 2026. But I know that there are veteran artists that have been doing this practice for years and only really got good at it at a later part in their life, after years of study, after years of drawing, After years of using references, of course, they know what things look like. They have a large visual library already built up, and they know what lines to put down. They know where to put them. They know the poses out of their head. I've seen some comic artists just compose something from out of thin air, and it looks like something taken directly from reference. And it wasn't. Or maybe I should say that it was. Because of their usage of reference throughout the years, it just comes to them like that, just snaps. And they can just make it from their visual library, from experience of using different poses. They can just create something that looks so cool, and I think that's magical. And it is definitely something that I want to be able to learn, or I want to be able to do. So, alright.